start here. Hello, and welcome to the Powerhouse Women Personal Branding Masterclass. This is the second ever masterclass in this series of monthly free masterclasses that we are bringing to our public community, yourself as well. Maybe you're here watching on YouTube, and the thought process behind Powerhouse Women as a group is that we're all real estate advisors in our respective markets, but we are entrepreneurs. And there are things that we all do in our personal life, in our professional life to help us get to that next level, to help us achieve the things that we have, on our goal list. And we can share this information in a way that is beneficial to you, even if you're not in real estate. So I'm super happy to have you here. Thank you for clicking on this video. There is so much value all about personal branding jam-packed in this masterclass that I have prepped for you guys. I do just want to go on record and just make a little note that this is officially V2 of this masterclass, because when I did it the other day live, and it was amazing, so I'm told, I did not hit record, and I definitely was beating myself up about it, and I was very down about it. I almost cried when I realized, but we learned two things. We learned a few things. I'm never going to not hit record again. We grow through what we go through, right? So we fail forward fast, and we're not going to make that mistake again. It's very important, if you can and you're interested, to show up to these masterclasses live so that you get all of the value out of it that you possibly can, because there's just nothing that can beat that sort of live face-to-face back and forth, especially during the question period. But I did write down everybody's questions that were asked during the live session. I will be re-answering them again during this session. And of course, if you have any other questions, you can always find me on Instagram at Giavanna Silva, just my first and last name, and feel free to slide into my DMs. But without further ado, let's get into the masterclass. First and foremost, who am I? My name is Giavanna Silva. I am so happy to have you here. Grateful, honored, thankful. I am a co-founder of Powerhouse Women, which is so special to even say. I am so incredibly proud of the work that we've done and what we have built so far, and thankful that we have these types of things that, we can give back and pour into you guys in a way. I'm a Boston-based real estate advisor. I've been in the industry for over 7 years. I have my own real estate team. I have 2 agents. Shout out to Megan and Rosa. They are amazing. I adore them. I'm very proud of them always. I love being a mentor. I love pouring into people. And throughout the course of my real estate career, if you will, my focus has always been, at the highest heights as far as real estate can go, in the sense of luxury, and working with the best in the business as far as building a brand, marketing properties, marketing that brand, marketing yourself, marketing the team, the individuals on the team, the skill set, the unique value proposition, marketing myself while I was on a team or while I was working for One Dalton, which is a new construction. It's not that new anymore, but it was at the time a new construction, very luxurious Four Seasons residence here in Boston. And obviously they have a very strategic approach to marketing and branding for their business. So that's a little bit about me. Fun fact, and this is a little bit of a surprise because I haven't officially launched it anywhere, but I am going to be rolling out marketing and branding services because my team is focused on marketing and branding as its unique value proposition. So if you are somebody that doesn't have a personal brand, or you're looking to strengthen your personal brand, number 1, you're in the right place because of this masterclass. But number 2, I will be rolling out services that maybe you and I can work together and figure out what your personal brand is and bring it to life. Let's talk about some of the things that we're going to go over through the course of this masterclass. I'm going to try to keep it under an hour. It should be under an hour. It was last time. But essentially, we're going to talk about what is personal branding. which is essentially the process of creating your distinct image, your identity, either for yourself or for your company. It's how you distinguish yourself from others. Why is personal branding important? What's the difference between branding and marketing? This is always such a buzzword. Marketing, branding, personal branding, marketing strategy. People throw these out interchangeably and they all mean different things. We're going to get into it. And when you leave this webinar, you are going to better understand what all of these terms mean. How do you build a personal brand? You're going to walk away from this call knowing more how to build your personal brand, how you can, even if you don't have one at this very point in time. And you're also going to know how different ways that you can measure the success of your personal brand. So, why do I need a personal brand? This is a question I hear a lot. The short answer is it's 2024. Everybody is on social media. And if you are somebody who is an entrepreneur, owns a brand, you want to be an influencer, or even if you work in a 9 to 5 and you think, well, I'm a corporate girly, I don't need a personal brand because I work for a company and they have a brand. Well, this is where you are wrong. Having a brand helps you stand out. It can even help your personal brand stand out amongst the workplace if you are a corporate girly and you work in an office with a bunch of other people that are also subscribed to the same ideals as the company that you work for. It helps establish recognition. So if you have a consistent and a strong personal or professional brand, if it's a company, but I'm going to say personal brand throughout this just for the sake of what we're talking about here. But understand that all of this can be applied to a company just the same as it can be applied to an individual. And we're going to get into what that means a little bit later on. Creating a strong, consistent brand helps create trust and build credibility because people see how you show up. They see what you say. They see what you stand for. They see that holds up in court, so to speak, every single time they come back to your page or your website or, your community that you're building or whatever it is. They get the same feeling, they get the same vibe, they see the same colors, they see the same logo. It establishes trust, right? It's the reason why you can look at an ad, for example, for Free People. And maybe it doesn't have any words on it. Maybe it doesn't have the logo anywhere, but you know without a shadow of doubt in your heart of hearts that it's Free People because their branding is so strong, it's so on point, it's very consistent that they don't even need a logo or their name to be recognized as Free People. It builds loyalty and advocacy. So, a marked sign of a really great brand is, are people sticking around? Are they buying from you again? Are they using your services again? Are they advocating for you and your services or your product or your community or whatever it is that you do? And are they sending people your way? Are they recommending that other people buy this product? Are they recommending that other people join this community or utilize your services, whether they be friends or family? Having a consistent brand helps you or enables you to charge premium pricing, because when you stick out in the marketplace, when people know exactly what they can come back to you for, they know what to expect, they trust that you mean what you say what you mean, you stand by your word, you hold up the promises that you say you do. You over promise, over deliver and under promise. Yeah, over deliver and under promise. Almost said that backwards. You can actually charge premium pricing because customers are willing to pay from brands that they trust, that they admire, that they recognize, that they see their friends or their favorite influencer, their favorite celebrity utilizing, going back to, purchasing from, repping, whatever it is. It also enables you to establish consistency and coherence across all of your platforms, your marketing, everything that you do, everything that you touch, everything that you say, because that's a big part of personal brand. And all of this, again, lends to strengthening your personal brand. So those are just some of the reasons why you need one. And if you don't have one or you don't know where to start, you're in the right place. Thank you for being here. Let's get even deeper into the masterclass. So, I told you we were going to start talking about some lingo because, again, these are all buzzwords that I see people throw around, and more often than not, they don't know what they're saying, and it's probably to no fault of their own, but they've just heard the terminology, they think they know what it means, and they throw it out there. Sorry, I have to drink my coffee. So first of all, brand identity. This is the way that your brand represents itself. You have control over this for the most part. If you are a company or you work for a company, a business, every single person, every single thing that company does, puts out, marketing-wise, branding-wise, messaging-wise, on social media, has an impact on this brand, this company, this business, for better or for worse. So a brand identity is the collection of elements that a company or an individual uses to portray the right image to its consumer. This includes the visual aspects such as the logo, the font sets, the colors that you use, as well as non-visual things like the tone, your messaging, your user experience. So when people go to your website, is it mumbo jumbo? Is it messy? Things like that. The values that you stand for. So are you communicative? Are you responsive? Do you offer white glove service? Things like that. Your online presence. This is the collective digital footprint of the individual or the brand across various platforms and channels. This could be social media. This could be your website. It could be print marketing, such as newspapers, magazines, postcards, mailers. It could be the way that you show up if other people are tagging you in things on social media, right? Even if it's not your social media, but you are being linked to it in one way, shape, or form. Your brand voice. This is the tone, the style, the personality that the brand uses to communicate with its audience. So this kind of does go back to brand identity, but it is different than brand identity. So it's how your brand sounds, feels when it's written in verbal communication. Your Instagram captions, your YouTube captions, your TikTok captions, your email newsletters, your print marketing, if you're doing mailers, anything like that. What is the tone? Is it fun and flirty and witty, or is it more factual and to the point, straightforward, informative, professional? There's a difference, right? Brand strategy. This is a plan for creating and developing the maintenance of this brand. This involves defining the brand's purpose, values, positioning, mission, as well as determining key messages and channels that are going to reach your target audience. We're going to get into that term in a second. Brand storytelling. This is the practice of using stories to communicate your brand's values, to communicate the beliefs that you have, your purpose, the problem that you solve, the unique value proposition that you have to offer. This helps humanize your brand. It helps create a deeper emotional connection, if you will, between the individual that is perceiving your brand and either the brand as a collective or you yourself as a personal brand. Visual branding. This again lends back towards brand identity, but it's different. This is strictly the visual elements that make up the brand, the logo, the color scheme, the font sets that you use. What's your header font? What's your body copy font? What do you use when you're typing out quotes? Or do you have an accent font? And how are they all playing together? There's not really a random way that people are using these fonts when they have a strong personal brand. It's all very calculated. It's all very calculated and consistent, more or less, across everything that they do. So this helps your memorability, the recognition, and also lends to the preference that people have that are perceiving your brand. We're going to get into that again a little bit later. Target audience. Now, I joked during V1 of this masterclass, like take a shot every time I say target audience. because I say it a lot because it's very important. The target audience for your personal brand is a particular group of people, demographic of people who are the intended recipient of your product or your service. These people usually share common characteristics. They have similar behaviors, they go to similar places, they have similar wants, desires, needs, problems. So your solution, your product, your community is an answer for them in some way, shape, or form. So defining your target audience is super important. For example, if you are a company that sells protein shakes for people who are into fitness, you know that your target audience is into fitness. So you're going to most likely advertise in places that people that are into fitness hang out. Gyms, smoothie bars, healthy restaurants, most likely outdoor activities, outdoor gyms, um, bodybuilding competitions, weightlifting competitions, swim competitions, football games, right? Active environments. If you go and you market at the chocolate store, the chocolate shop, your local, bakery for your protein shakes, you're missing the mark. You're advertising to people, you're marketing your product, but you're missing the mark because this is not your desired, most ideal target audience. Content marketing is a strategic marketing approach that's focused on creating and distributing valuable, relevant, and consistent content. This can be social media content, digital content online. This can be print content. Okay. This can be things in the media. But it is designed to clearly attract, engage, and then convert this desired audience. The goal is to drive some sort of action, which is usually profitable action, right? You're selling a product, you offer a service that costs money. There's a cost associated with maybe the community that you're growing, or maybe there is no cost associated to any aspect of your personal brand, but you still want to drive action. You want people to come, you want them to stay, you want them to engage, and you want them to bring other people. Value proposition is a promise of value to be delivered. So this is your, I'll say, usually unique value proposition, because everybody's is different. Every company's is different, right? Even something like, Google versus Amazon, or Mozilla Firefox, if anybody even uses that anymore. But, they all offer different things. So this is the primary reason typically that a consumer is going to seek you out or to select you, your service, your product, your thing over anything or anybody else. And, this is what makes you different. It's what helps you stick out. I would say, hint, hint, you are the magic sparkle here in your personal brand, always. Marketing, last but not least, is the process of promoting and or selling this product or service to said target audience. So I know that was a lot of terminology, but hopefully as I move through the rest of these slides in this presentation, understanding the difference between all of these different terms will help you wrap your brain around everything else that I have for you. So buckle up, stick in with me here, and let's keep it pushing. So what elements make up a personal brand? The personal branding checklist, so to speak. This is going to be brand colors, logo sets, copy, which is any words that are being typed out on your screen, or your captions on social media or in the newspaper or whatever. Slogans, taglines, brand bios, mission statements, core values, things like that. Your brand voice, again, this is your tone. How do you sound? How do you want to sound? And really, really strategically thinking about how the person or the target audience that you want to be reaching is going to feel when they hear your brand voice, when they feel your brand voice. Your visual identity, again, this is everything that you see. the fonts, the logos, the design elements, the imagery, things like that. Content strategy, themes, topics, formats, personal style, right? What makes this brand stick out a little bit from that brand. And then, of course, you, but it does not in the least stop there. It does not in the least stop there. And I think that that's probably one of the bigger mistakes that I see people making when it comes to personal brand is like, you look at it as this checklist and it's like, okay, I need the logo, check. I need colors, check. I need logo sets, check, or brand copy, check. But if you're stopping there, you're really doing your audience a disservice, and even more so, you're doing yourself a disservice and your brand or whatever it is that your mission is. So I have this really fun branding breakdown. My fiance thought that this was so fast. He's like, where did you get this? I was like, just, a combination of a lot of things that I've seen, taken notes on over the years, and also just like my brain. But I'm going to call this the branding breakdown. And this is talking about the 3 different aspects that make up a personal brand. So you have 3 different key components that all lend to a strong, coherent, cohesive personal brand. Number 1 is brand, which is the way that your audience sees your brand. Then you have branding, which is the way that your brand, your company wants to be perceived. Somewhere between the two, brand and branding, we got to have some strategy, right? We have brand identity, which is the way that your brand represents itself. This is what I have control over for House of Giavanna or Haus or Powerhouse Women or my podcast, right? I have control over this for the most part, like 99% of the time. Somewhere between the brand identity and branding, we have personality. And somewhere between brand identity and the brand, we have perception. And we're going to get into what all of this means. So if you're confused, don't worry. This is going to make so much sense to you in just a moment. We're going to actually utilize Powerhouse Women as a case study, the brand of Powerhouse Women, because I'm a co-founder of Powerhouse Women. This is a Powerhouse Women Masterclass. And my company, House of Giavanna, which again is a marketing and media focused real estate company, has actually played a really big part. And I'm so honored to be able to say that. There's 4 other founders here. We all obviously had a meeting of the minds to bring this brand to life, if you will. But my team, we did a lot. When I say we, I say me. So shout out to everybody on this call who is a team of 1. But yeah, so we're gonna go through Powerhouse Women as a personal brand and break down all these 3 things. So number 1, brand. Again, the way that your audience sees your brand. You have very little control over this because perception is everything in this game. Everything. Your brand is a gut feeling. It's a result. It's your business reputation created through design, messaging, culture, consistency, customer experience, right? For example, if you say that you are a communicative brand and it takes you 3 days to respond to people when they reach out to you, you're not communicative. You lied, and already your brand is a sham. And I'm feeling that. It affects your reputation negatively. I'm not going to go recommend people to reach out to you, to call you, to use your service, buy your product, whatever it is. It's preference, right? Because every single individual has their own lens that they look at the world through. They have their own experiences. They have their own predetermined notions about things, along with their own set of needs, desires, problems, wants, where they're at in life, right? Maybe they're in the future going to be a soulmate client of yours, but right now your personal brand is just not something that they might prefer at this time. It's resonance, right? Going back to that example that I literally just said. If I do not resonate with, I'm a real estate advisor, for example. If somebody is living at home, is 14 years old, doesn't even have a job, they're not going to resonate with my brand because I help people buy and sell homes. They're not going to resonate with me, and that's okay. But what I don't want to do is show up in a way that's wishy-washy because, I don't want to alienate that 14-year-old because maybe in the future they're going to want to buy something from me. No, if you try to stand for everybody, you stand for nobody, especially yourself. So, resonance. How can you show up in a way, how can your brand show up in a way that resonates with your target audience? I'm going to say it again. It's very important to understand that this varies from person to person. So essentially, every single one of us, every single company, every single influencer has thousands, if not millions, of personal brands out there in the world, because from person to person, they're perceiving wildly differently. So remember, this is not something that you have direct control over, which can be a good thing. Because if you're showing up and you have a strong personal brand and you know what you stand for and you take no prisoners in that sense, if you will, you are absolutely going to detract all of the right kind of people. And what do I mean by that? You're going to detract the people that are not for you, that don't need your product, that don't have a problem for you to solve, that aren't looking for your community, that aren't looking for your business, right? We want to detract those people so that we can make room for the people that are our soulmate clients, like I said moments ago. We want to attract those people. So if you're polarizing and you're turning people away, that's a good thing. If people are unfollowing you, that is a good sign that your personal brand is doing something right, most likely. Or you're just rude and not fun. Just kidding. Brand identity. This is the part of the brand that you have, again, 99.999% control over. Your brand represents itself in a particular way. Now, this is not something that I want you to get too hung up on. I mentioned one of my favorite individuals to follow, Jen Gottlieb. If you don't follow her on Instagram, you should. She's incredible. She's a public speaker. She talks about motivation, personal branding, content, AI, using AI to create content, things like that. She's awesome. But her brand identity is she calls it the ugly grid, if you will. She does not focus on any of this stuff. I don't even know if she has a logo. There is part of me that stresses me out a little bit, but that's her brand and it's her brand identity and it works for her. Do not kill yourself over this. But this is the visual identity. So your font family, as you can see here, we have our title font, our heading font, subheading, copy, and accent font. It's your brand colors. You can actually find the hex code, which is the name, the technical name, if you will, for a color in Canva, for example. Most of you probably use Canva. If you click on any element, so if I was to click on this, block right here, and then go to change the color and click on the color that it is, you will see a 6-digit combination of numbers and letters that makes up that exact color. So that's a way that you can kind of keep colors consistent across everything that you do. Your tagline, your phrases, your mission statement. Our mission statement is to foster a community of real estate agents committed to collaboration, supporting one another's business growth, and providing exceptional service to international and relocation clients. Phrases, women owned and operated, empower, uplift, and thrive, right? Things like that. Our tagline that you see on our website, national network of elite real estate advisors, straight to the point. What is it? What are we? Why should I care? That type of thing. And then lastly, we have branding, which is the way that your brand wants to be perceived. Now, if you are an individual, and we're talking about personal brand, this is a conversation that you have with yourself. You dig really deep, or you hire somebody like myself. Feel free to slide in the DMs. You hire somebody like myself to work with you on the process of figuring out your personal brand, establishing your personal brand, figuring out your target audience, defining your marketing strategy, things like that. If you are a team or a business and there's more than one of you, this is a conversation obviously amongst all of you guys, or you still call somebody like me to bring into the fold and help you guys establish this personal brand. But this is more of a less than a tangible thing, if you will. It's more of a idea of how do we want to be perceived. So for Powerhouse Women, I just threw out some adjectives: bold, sexy, empowering, uplifting, informative, collaborative, right? We're a mastermind group. There's more than one of us. We want people to know that we're collaborative. So that's why we do posts like this, proudly representing 30 markets, to show every single person that we have involved in Powerhouse Women. It's why we do posts like this, very sexy, bold, magazine cover-esque post featuring a member of the month. We want to be welcoming. We want to exude a sense of community. We want to establish that we're a resource for people so that they keep coming back. And everything about the personal brand, the imagery, the tonality, the colors, the fonts, the branding, the marketing strategy, the content, the online presence, everything that we do lends to figuring out the branding, establishing the branding, and continuing to make sure that we are representing that branding. Now, again, remember, if you are a company, or you work for a company, or you work on a team, and there's more than one of you for this brand, every single individual and every single thing that that individual does or that the company does as a collective, for better or for worse, has an impact on the personal brand or the company brand, for better or for worse. I say that twice because it's super important to all be on the same page. There is no one size fits all as far as personal brands go or company brands go. I just wanted to throw in some other examples of what brands look like outside of just obviously Powerhouse Women. And if you were to zoom in on any one of these images, you would see that they all have brand messaging and tonality and descriptive words, logo sets, colors with hex codes and fonts and imagery to kind of evoke a mood and a feeling and a vibe and an aesthetic. But there's definitely no one size fits all, and it's something that will forever be evolving as you change, as the brand changes, as the world changes, as people's needs change, etc., etc. How can you measure the success of a brand? We've done all of this work to put together the brand, to figure out a marketing strategy for the brand and everything in between. But how do we know if it's working? How do we know if it's achieving what we want it to achieve, right? Success measurement can be looked at in a various number of ways. Brand awareness. This can be measured by tracking metrics such as website traffic, social media engagement, brand mentions on social media or in the media, like print media, for example, surveys and focus groups that can be used to kind of gauge consumer awareness and perception, things like that. That's one way. Brand reach. This is kind of a metric, if you will, that measures the extent to which this brand is reaching its target audience. This can be measured through your analytics on social media, impressions, engagement, comments, DMs, responses, likes, things like that, as well as website traffic and conversion rates. So, for example, if you're a product, are people buying? Is there conversion happening there? That's definitely a way of measuring success. Brand image. This kind of refers more to the perception again of the brand in the minds of the consumer. And this can also again be measured by surveys, focus groups, as well as monitoring social media perception, if you will. This again goes kind of back to brand awareness, but a little bit different. Brand loyalty. This is a measurement of the extent to which consumers are loyal to the brand. Are they coming back? Are they repeat customers? Are they sticking around if it's a community or something like that? This can be measured by customer retention rate metrics, repeat purchases, or customer lifetime value. Those are some analytics, if you will, that you can measure brand loyalty by. Brand advocacy, similar to brand loyalty, measures the extent to which consumers are willing to recommend the brand to others. This can be measured through metrics such as net promoter scores, if you're a business, as well as social media shares, referrals, tags, things like that. Or even just like a testimonial, or having somebody be like, oh, like I just told my friend about you, things like that. Tracking, how often are you hearing something like that? And then lastly, sales and revenue. This is not lastly, this is just lastly on my slide, but sales and revenue, right? Because again, the goal is always to drive some sort of consumer action, most likely some sort of profitable consumer action at the end of the day with the personal brand. So sales and revenue is ultimately usually going to be the measure of success that a brand can use to figure out how the bottom line is impacted. This can be measured through metrics such as sales revenue and profit margins. Where do we go from there? Oh, sorry, that's the next slide. Branding versus marketing. This is a super important one. I need to take another sip of my coffee for this. I feel like not enough people understand the difference between branding and marketing. They are, again, buzzwords that are thrown out a lot to people. I think especially when they might not even know what they mean. So we're going to break it down because they are very, very different and they work hand in hand. So we've already gone through brand, right? The process of creating a distinct identity, a personality for a product, a service, or an individual. Creating consistent and authentic images that resonate with the audience help build trust and credibility and increase consumer advocacy and retention. So things like tone, values, messaging, color palettes, imagery, logo sets, client experience, things like that. This is really the process of defining the core unique value proposition, the mission, the vision of the brand, as well as identifying the target audience of the brand, who can benefit from this brand, how is it going to be perceived, creating that visual identity, thinking of such, and staying consistent, right? Like, is our image consistent and authentic, and does it help lend to building that trust and that credibility for the brand? Remember, a strong brand can help differentiate a product, a service, or an individual from competitors and create lasting impressions in the minds of consumers or your audience. Marketing, on the other hand, okay, the other hand is the process of promoting and or selling this product or service or individual to said target audience. So this is about creating awareness, generating interest, driving action, purchases, signups, outreach, things like that can be measured from the target audience. A marketing strategy contains a mix of different outlets, media, things like that. So billboards, social media, print advertising, digital advertising, newspaper posting, strategic collaborations, even if it's a reel with a restaurant or some local business in your town. If you've ever gone to a restaurant and you see a table mat that has ads on it, for local businesses, that can be part of a marketing strategy. There are so many things that can lend to a marketing strategy, but it's important to understand the difference because the brand is one thing, right? And it's a complex thing at that, if we've learned anything from this masterclass so far. The marketing is essentially just the vehicle in which you are delivering this beautifully packaged brand, this beautifully packaged business, its unique values, its mission, its vision, its all that good stuff. So I hope that helps you understand the difference. From there, how do you now take all of this information and discover your personal brand? So I threw some questions up on this slide. If you want to pause it, take a picture, take a screenshot, things like that. It's really, it starts with asking yourself a lot of hard questions. What are your key strengths and values? Who is your target audience? What are their needs? What sets you apart from other people in your field, right? What makes you unique? What are your short-term goals, your long-term goals? What is your preferred method of communication? What kind of content do you enjoy creating? What kind of experience do you offer? What solution do you need? Do you feel? What are your values as an individual? What are your values as a team, as a company? Things like that. From there, you can start to ask yourself what action steps you can take to actually build this brand. But it starts with a conversation. It's an ongoing process. Again, I mentioned earlier, it's forever evolving. And it's definitely not something that any one person should have to do alone. So again, slide into my DMs and let me know if you need help with any of this at all. Where to go from there once you've figured out your personal brand. Again, defining your target audience. Who am I for? And more importantly, who am I not for? And how can I show up in a way that clearly lets people know I am not for you, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that at all. Developing a marketing strategy. Again, now that we know that marketing is the vehicle, what is the strategy to deliver this personal brand and make sure that it's perceived the way that we want it to be perceived? Getting it in front of as many people as we can get it in front of. Now that you have the audience, engaging with the audience. I'll let you in on a little secret here. The process that your audience, your customers, your consumers, your clients are going to go through is the same every single time. It might be faster for other people than it is for some, but it's always going to be a 3-step process: attract, warm, and convert. So you're going to attract people, bring them in, right? You're going to throw out your line and you're going to just kind of wait. And then you get a bite and you kind of hook them in. You're going to start to hook them in. And as you're reeling them in, you're warming them up. You're posting every day. You're doing what you said you would do. You're showing the problems that you solve and the wins that your customers have. And again, continuously under-promising and over-delivering consistently. You want to engage with this audience. That is the final stage. Attract, warm them up, and then convert them, which is usually some sort of engagement, or they're engaging with you by sending you a DM or commenting on something or filling out a form, an intake form, for example, and you're taking it from there with the engagement. And then lastly, evaluate annually, because your brand is ever evolving and it's never going to be the same. And if you try to keep it the same, it will not stand the test of time. You will get burnt out. You'll end up hating your brand. You won't feel aligned with it, which feels really icky. And if you're feeling not aligned with your brand and you're feeling icky about it, then how can we imagine other people that are stumbling upon it are feeling about it? Not very great, right? So evaluate often and do not be afraid to pivot. The secret sauce to any brand, personal brand, professional brand, team brand, company brand, whatever it is, it's always going to be you. And that is super cheesy, but I am super cheesy. I own that. If you know me at all, I'm a very, very, very cheesy individual, but it's so true. Absolutely every single person walking this planet, watching this video, has a unique set of experiences that they have gone through life since birth. This changes the lenses that you look at things through. This changes your preconceived notions. This changes your approach. This changes your values. It changes everything. So if you can find a way to tap into who you are, like at the core of it, at the cringiest, at the most awkward, even if it's not something that like maybe you're super comfortable sharing yet, you are always going to be the differentiator. Peter Doe, I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce it, but he is a highly renowned individual thought leader in the marketing and branding space. And he has this exercise that he goes through with people where he essentially asks them to kind of come up with their shadow word. Like, what is something that you're not super proud of or that you don't really love about yourself? And then once you've identified that, how can you kind of flip the script on that, so to speak? Because that is you, that is your personal brand. And the example that he uses, that I've heard him use at least, is somebody that was doing the exercise with him. Their shadow word for themselves was that they are a people pleaser, which can, for so many different reasons, be looked at in a negative connotation. And he said, okay, you're a people pleaser. Flip that script. Why is that your superpower? And he added a phrase to it, and he made it proud people pleaser. And he used that as his brand because that's what differentiates him. He so very much cares about the way that people feel when they work with him, when they are coming to him, when they're consuming his content. And he really kind of takes that angle through his personal brand, and it works for him. So kind of really dig deep here, and don't be afraid to enter that shadow realm and figure out what are the things that maybe I'm not super proud of, but that really make me who I am, that I can sprinkle as the secret sauce in my personal brands. So that is the end of this personal branding masterclass. 47 minutes. I went a little bit longer than I did V1, but again, I kind of like threw in some extra things for you. We had 4 really, really great questions during the live call that I'm going to answer now. But again, if you have any questions about personal branding, my Instagram is Giavanna Silva, first and last name, no periods, no underscores, no anything. Feel free to slide into the DMs, and I would love to even potentially work with you. The first question was from one of our market partners, and she had said, I don't feel that I'm very creative. Social media and content creating is not really my strong suit. So how do I come up with colors and fonts and things like that, imagery, things like that, right? Number 1, again, you do not have to do it alone. You can call me. You can do this with a friend. You could use ChatGPT. I don't entirely recommend using ChatGPT just because the human element is definitely super important here when it comes to building a personal brand. But I gave an example of Comic Sans, the font. I say Comic Sans. Most of you probably know what it looks like in your head. You see it in your mind's eye. If not, please look it up, because Comic Sans, it gets so much hate in the marketing and branding design world, but it's a very whimsical kind of, not even whimsical is the right word. It almost looks like a little kid's handwriting, like cartoony. If I am somebody, I'll use myself as an example. I'm a real estate advisor who serves first-time home buyers, but also that top tier, luxury homeowner who has a trophy property to sell, a trophy asset. I'm not going to use Comic Sans, because when I see Comic Sans on anything, right? Like if I saw a Prada bag with the Prada label in Comic Sans, I would be like, what? Because it doesn't give professional. It doesn't give clean and excellent and refined. It gives a comic book. So you definitely know, like, you have a gut feeling when you look at a font when you look at a color, when you look at shapes, right? Like a circle might make you feel warm and fuzzy inside, whereas like rectangles and triangles with like harsh corners and lines might make you feel a little bit more like that's like too sterile and it's not, for me. Whereas somebody else might look at that and be like, oh, it's modern and it's edgy and that fits the script. So really kind of asking yourself descriptive questions when you're looking at colors and shapes and fonts and how they all play together, and asking yourself, how does this make me feel? What perception does this give me? If I saw an attorney with these fonts, would I take them seriously? Or if my favorite influencer was using these, like, are they fun? Are they whimsical? Are they different? Right? Things like that. But again, you don't have to do it alone. You can always call me and I can help you by establishing some options for you to go through versus you figuring them out on your own. How can I keep my grid/feed on Instagram consistent? This is also one of our market partners. She said, I live in Seattle and she's a real estate advisor. She said, sometimes the sky is gray and there's no grass, and sometimes it's blue skies and the grass is green and it's lush and it's beautiful. It's super inconsistent. So how can I keep my grid consistent? If you have a strong, consistent brand, and you're using the same colors and you're using consistent fonts and you use similar imagery, right? It doesn't really matter what the actual picture is going to be, whether it's gray and gloomy or blue skies and green lush grass, because every other element is kind of lending to the cohesiveness, speaking with everything else that you've posted on your page. Now, I will pause here really quick because I did say, first and foremost, initially when I answered this question, do not kill yourself over this, because it's more important to just show up consistently, even if your brand isn't consistent. And again, go to Jen Gottlieb's page because she does a really good job of this. Well, she does a really bad job with like a personal brand, if you will, but her personal brand is that she doesn't care. I have a messy, ugly Instagram feed, but I show up, I talk about the same things all the time. I do what I say I'm going to do. I deliver on my promises. I deliver on the values that I say are my values and whatnot. But you could always play around with cover images on reels that you can change even after you've posted the reel. Or if you're posting a listing like a just listed, it doesn't have to be the picture of the listing on the cover. You could make it black and white and put a colored font over it and then have the swipe be the picture in color or something like that. So there's a lot of things that you can do with your marketing strategy to lend to a more cohesive and coherent, consistent grid feed. But do not kill yourself over it, because it doesn't really matter at all if you're not showing up. Third question. This is more of a tactical question from another one of our market partners. How do you upload fonts, etc., in Canva and CapCut, or colors, things like that? So let's talk about colors really quickly first. If you have, for example, one of my colors for my brand is a really deep, almost like this color. It's like a deep red, burgundy-esque color. So the hex code for that color is #650000. If I go into Canva and I go to change the color of any element and I click the, change the color, and I click the gradient, like the rainbow, where you can like kind of select through the rainbow and like pick a color, you know what I'm saying? At the bottom, there's a type bar that has the code. So you either can click on something with the color and view the code. Now you know exactly what color it is. Or you can type in your code and make sure that you have the exact brand colors on everything that you're putting together. You can do the same thing in CapCut or Adobe, for example, if you're doing video editing, to make sure that across everything that you do, the colors are exactly the same. The same thing for fonts. Most fonts that you see people use, like from Canva, are Google fonts, which are free for the most part. You can actually download the font file from Google Fonts. Just type in Google Fonts. Look up Times New Roman, for example, and then you can download it. There are some font factories, fun fact, that is what they are called, that Canva, for example, buys fonts from that if you have a premium Canva membership you can use. But let's say you go over to CapCut and they don't have the font because it's a premium font from a font factory that isn't a Google font. You can actually typically find these either for free or for purchase from the font family or from the font factory. Download the file and then you can upload it to Canva, CapCut, Adobe, Microsoft Word, Google Sheets, whatever it is that you're using to make sure that your fonts are the same across everything that you do. It's pretty awesome. It's definitely more of a tactical thing if you're not super tech savvy and this is something that you're looking for help with. Slide in my DMs and I will send you like a screen recorded video showing you how to do it. How do I define my target audience? This was from a dear friend of mine. This is a really, really, really great question. And again, I know I touched on it a little bit earlier, just because I knew that this was a question. I wanted to dig a little bit deeper into it on this version of the masterclass. But again, if you know your unique value proposition, you know the solution that you offer, the problem that you solve, the community that you offer, whatever it is, if you know and you've done that work, you can really then kind of work backwards almost, if you will, to figure out, okay, now who is this person that can benefit the most from what I have to offer or from what my team has to offer or from what my company has to offer. And if you can identify that person, right? So for me, I'm a real estate advisor. People who are looking to buy homes, so a first-time home buyer, I know how to navigate them through the process. I know how to guide them through the process. I know what questions they're going to have. I know what their struggles are probably most likely going to be, like financially and tactically. So if I know all of those things, I know I can look up the national average age demographic for a first-time home buyer, which is usually in the early 30s right now. I think it might be like 33 to 35. So right there, I've got the age. I've got the age demographic. And if I know that they're first-time home buyers, these are not people that own a home. So am I going to be advertising in Home Depot? Probably not, because these people are not frequenting Home Depot. They don't have a home. They don't need to go to Home Depot or the garden center or things like that. Most likely, right? I am going to advertise by doing first-time homebuyer seminars. I am going to come up with topics and questions that these individuals most likely have and then produce content to speak to that individual, to those needs, to those problems, to those solutions, and how I'm the one that has those solutions, right? So definitely a loaded question. Not always the easiest thing to do, but it's definitely a matter of working backwards and asking yourself a lot of questions to figure out, who is this person? What do they need? And how do I find them? And how do I get in front of them? And then I had one more question from Rosa from my team. What is something that you would tell yourself in the past about branding? And I would say that's a really good question, because I would have to say that something I've told myself in the past about branding is that it's logos and colors and pictures and fonts. There is so much more that goes into it. The human aspect is the most important aspect of a personal brand. And again, if you're looking at a brand as a checklist, okay, I need my logo, I need my colors, I need my fonts, I need my bio, you're missing the mark, and you are never going to stand out as loud and proud and strong as your competitors. And I say that with love. So yeah, that was definitely something that I had kind of thought in the past, but I now understand that it is so much more, and I love that. And I have loved doing this again. This personal branding masterclass has been so much fun. I hope you guys learned something from it. I hope you're able to take something away to either now go establish your personal brand or strengthen the one that you already have. Again, I am always here if you have questions. slide in my DMs, shoot me an email, follow me on Instagram. I would love to help you with your personal brand, with your business brand. You do not have to be in real estate for that. But yeah, thank you again so much. If you made it all the way to the end, we're just under an hour exactly. I just want to give you guys a quick, if you're still here, a quick reminder that Powerhouse Women does these free public masterclasses once a month, the last Tuesday of every month at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time in Telegram, which I will put the link in the show notes below. I said show notes like I'm podcasting, in the description of this YouTube video below so that you can join the community. If you want to join our community of powerful, badass female entrepreneurs, again, you do not have to be in real estate. And definitely check out our YouTube for other masterclasses as we progress throughout the year. Thank you so much for being here. It has been my pleasure. Now go get working on your personal brand, and I will see you when I see you. Ciao. Bye, G-Unit.